完了，德国军推到3个，终于推到4个，这边的又是一个2打3的画面的乒乓球。
电竞出手就要被离开一个前4，完了，我们的 Rock 看起来被打得好，
但是自己被这个剑给弹回来，又是 Alex 的一个壁咚，准备要在这一波将 CFO 人全员收掉。
差了一个位置，又是第3个，我的天啊！
然后拿了一个拉手，开始持续的追击，现在的话你要知道是 triple，
被波手他换了一个治愈，多你一个治愈之后就被点输了。
再一个红丸的一个推，拿着不双盲的效果把小林给推了回去。
Welcome back to the PCS Summer Split Playoffs. Here in the upper bracket, we have had quite the brawl. PSG Talon versus CFO all tied up now at 1-1. Before we get into our Game 3 discussion, I want to extend another shout out to our wonderful sponsor, C2BC Bank, for always being by our side, and China Airlines as well for this playoffs. It has been fantastic so far this series. I'm excited to see what Game 3 brings us. Nightstar, we've got a change of side selection, though, I'm hearing.
Yeah, we are going to have a side swap. CFO opting to go over to the blue side. This is sort of what we expected, right? As the shift in perhaps champion priority has changed from that Azir to the Philios. And we'll see how both of these teams address that in the ban phase. As you know, I wouldn't even be surprised if maybe PSG, they just ban out the entire bot lane pool.
It's possible. I mean, you've got to try and keep Shun down best you can. That game 1 Draven was deadly. Now, the Zeri still got online, but I do think that Aphelios, there's a reason that was a high prio. It clearly made a massive difference for Unified in terms of damage output. Laning strength, of course, is going to be CFO's. And if they can use it, if they get the advantage for themselves, that's big. Maybe, though, they just sack on that bot lane pick. They go for an optimal choice early on. Although that mission is here, it giveth and it taketh away. I guess we'll have to see as we are into it right now. Ari Silas off the board, targeted yet again at Gory. PSG haven't buried their bans just yet with that Poppy being stuck.
It's going to be Poppy, Kalista, and maybe even a Draven ban in this instance. But if that happens, it does, of course, leave up the Aphelios. And for CFO, I think they are considering if they want to ban Aphelios or the Azir on this last ban.
Yeah, do you give it over to Gory potentially? Okay. 5 ban against, interesting. You know, I kind of like this adaptation. You force him into something more like the Zinzao.
Yeah, something that doesn't have instant kill pressure onto that mid lane. Perhaps alleviates the pressure onto mission. So, you might just be going straight back to the Azir. But for sure, you pick one or the other, right?
They first pick Sivir.
Okay. But this also leaves up Azir and Aphelios for PSG, and I think they would be very happy with both of those situations.
Yeah, I think you're right. If they take both right now, they've given themselves a fair bit of comfort, some power as well.
Azir is okay.
It is okay. Kind of like the Aphelios a little more for Unified, but we'll see.
Yeah, Unified will get the Zeri locked in, so it's going to be a handshake, and it's not the worst off trade. Yes, Aphelios is going to be able to lane a little bit better, but here you're able to match the scaling of a Sivir with the extra range and terrain control coming in that the Zeri does bring to the table. And interesting that the side of PSG seemed very comfortable in the Talia Azir trade.
Yeah, I mean, I think for PSG, it's almost daring mission to play it again, but we'll see what CFO add to the mix. With the Wukong locked in for Gory, that makes it actually the first time he's been playing this champion. And now for CFO, Nautilus being a takeaway against Kaiwing. It sets up for the Sivir nicely. We'll see if they just opt into the Azir. They do for mission. Third time's the charm, apparently.
And you know who isn't there to visit? Nautilus and Vi. They cannot go to his mid lane because they're banned or on his side. So this time around, it will be CFO's Nautilus that will perhaps make the difference. And this would be an interesting hover, of course. The Kali did get buffed on 12-15, but we're still on 14. So it will be Talia locked in the end. A lot more team fight power coming in from the Zeri Wukong combination, but once more Gory put onto the Talia, he's going to need to look to have playmaking around that mid lane or have the ability to clear out and start attacking these side lanes.
Or do a little bit of both. Now PSG into the second ban phase, get rid of the Sejuani, which has kind of been the ace in the hole here for CFO's side as they've been able to flex it around. Of course, support already shown and locked, and CFO sticking to their guns, getting rid of the Ornn, trying to pinch Navi's pool as per usual.
With the Ornn banned out, they might look for either the Gnar or the Renekton bans to come through as well. And it will be Yumi instead, so leaving both of them up available. PSG, I think if they wanted to pick one, it would be the Gnar here. It does leave counter pick to Kaiwing, which is not something we see a whole lot out of PSG.
And they already have support shown, right? You have to think maybe they would end up on a support pick here, and they do. If this holds, it's the Rakan lock-in to pair with the Zeri.
Plenty of the engage tools coming out from the side of PSG. I like this look coming in. They've clearly adapted from game number one and say, hey, we just didn't have any go tools. We need a couple more of them. Rakan also one of those sort of enchanter-esque champions that can gank for you in the mid lane. And for CFO, this is a pick I really want to see. Gemini on the Lee Sin is a completely different beast in the jungle, and it will get locked in. So now it just boils down to what the blind pick will be. Gnar and Renekton both available. You know, it's got to be one of
takes the opposite side. Yeah, I mean, I do like the team fight potential. Again, we've been harping on the nerfs, but there's the possibility there. I think PSG, one of the issues they've run into with this composition is it's a very squishy one. So if they take away some situational tankiness and comfort, Hanabi put into a potentially bad situation. That is the lock for rest on the Gnar. And yeah, Gemini on this Lee Sin, 100% win rate this split. Comfort for him as well. I do like this comp coming out of CFO. Good old Sivir, let's just run at him, set the plays up, pinballs for PSG. They might just double down on the power, maybe give Hanabi a strong side for a change. And it's the Kennen.
Okay, the Kennen does get locked in. Still a very strong laner and has some team fight potential value later on. The core thing will be if he does get put behind, and if CFO are able to address their flanks, it will be very, very difficult for PSG to actually get value out of the Kennen. However, with their setup, they can play from a multitude of angles. And the thing you can't say about CFO is that they're pretty much a front-to-back comp. The Azir and Sivir will be grouped up on top of each other. So there's high value coming in from this PSG comp, and I feel like they've done enough in this particular draft to give them draft advantages moving into this third game.
You can really see it take shape with the preferences, though, on both sides, right? It's exactly how we've seen in both games. One thing they had in common was how the teams like to play it out. CFO, they do front to back. They do like to death ball it up. On the opposite side, PSG, they're always looking for the flank angles. Both teams giving themselves the tools to do what they prefer. But as you said, I think this is the first time in three games in the series that we've seen PSG have looking like a better draft. So maybe it's all about that red side, huh?
It could be. But the thing is, CFO on blue side are a completely different beast. They've had a vastly better win-loss record on blue side, whereas on red side, they've actually been below 50% when it comes to regular splits. But this is the playoffs, and this is where these games matter the most.
This is where it counts. It is the upper bracket. Even for the teams that lose here today, they will have another chance to climb their way up through the lower side. However, the winner goes on with one series separating them from the World Championships appearance. As I've mentioned before, both these teams chock full of players with that experience, but on the blue side now, CFO, they're the team that have not been able to go in a while. They're the players, I should say, that have not been able to go in a while since this squad only formed together at the start of this year.
Koala, good flash.
Level 1 shenanigans. Gory sniffs this out, though.
All
We're
right,
underway.
Highway. Flash, do it. Oh.
That's some game 1 stuff. Get out of here, Nightstar. We got, here's the thing. Shun just wanted to deliver that pizza. 30 minutes or it's free, you know, but doesn't find a target. It's actually going to be a pretty far back start for PSG. They're really expecting a late invade.
And Gemini, of course, onto the Lee Sin. I think that's the most unique pick in this draft because we haven't seen a ton of Lee Sin at all during the split. Yes, PSG also get themselves a cannon, so we can talk about that right afterwards. But Gemini, historically, hasn't exactly been an early game jungler. We saw a little bit more of that in the first 2 games while he was on the Sejuani. And the Poppy also one of those champs that he's been able to perform and gank. But Lee Sin is just something else. He can both carry and still gank on this champ. So I am really keen to see what he can do with this champ because there's always that outplay potential, the dream kick scenario.
Speaking of outplay, nice ricochet into the, or rather, ricochet damage coming through for Shun. There is always a huge value upside in a skilled Lee Sin player, and it is worth keeping that in mind. On the opposite side, the interesting thing about this game is Bury is taking his first competitive Wukong in the PCS. So that's going to be a little interesting. And Wukong is a champion that has kind of seen a rise and fall in the meta. Did get hit with Nerf Bat. Can't remember how many patches ago. We are still on 12.14 though. So for those of you wondering, we do keep talking about it. It's because, yeah, we're a little bit further behind while everyone else is looking at that 12.15 hotness, looking for more. We'll talk about that later because Koala does land a really long-range dredge line. Does allow Shun to send the boomerang blade out, and the Sivir already starting to do some damage to that squishy bot side.
Nice little flick there.
Same matchup yet again, and it feels like lessons have not been learned. Yeah, I just hope Mission builds an earlier stopwatch this time around. I'd love to see that. Ooh, Gemini, level 3 gank. Let's go.
Yeah, Hanabi, though, has a pretty sizable wave. He's bold.
He is. Rest is on top of him, and they will go for the chase. And he gets
the chase.
Nailed with the boulder. Stuns up. Just needs that Q to land. No, the flash going forward. Gets it and safeguards just in time. First blood secured by Gemini.
Oh, look. Wukong, though, around the corner. Doesn't actually try and go for the 1v2, though. Would be pretty bold.
Monkey see, monkey no do.
Yeah. And CFO, like I said, Pyra, Gemini on the Lee Sin is just a completely different jungler. If I had to rank junglers, because we did have a vote on who we said are all-pro junglers, I didn't have Gemini number 1. But that's because I couldn't isolate just his Lee Sin games. If I could do it, he would be Z tier. He is beyond the best jungler in our league.
Wait, so is that bad or good? Is it like a wraparound thing? Like you're so good that you go back to Z?
Z tier is like 0.
Oh, you mean like S tier?
Yeah, it's beyond.
Yeah, okay. Oh, it's even
God.
more power.
Yeah.
I've never heard Z tier before. I would usually think that's a bad thing, but I am not enough of a zoomer for all of that. You need to teach me the ways, Nightstar.
Maybe another gank about to come through. Oh, Bury does sniff.
Bury sniffs this one.
Something.
Gory does still get hit, though.
The flick
Look at
could
the
be
damage. Oh, man. And Mission just wasn't able to move with the wave state. But still, that's just with an Iron Spike whip.
Uh-huh. He's already got 1 kill on the board. And the amount of pressure he's applying here, forcing these recalls, and also forcing Bury to now pay more attention to where the Lee Sin is going to slow down Bury's level 6 points as well, because he's needing to try and keep track to keep his laners safe. And now Mission can be a lot more. This time he can play with the ego that we saw in game number 2, because his jungler is just stronger right now.
giving him a lot of attention. Although Kaiwing is also here. Ooh, that's Aaliyah taking some punishment. Kaiwing sniffs for a pick, sniffs forward, but doesn't find anything as Koala's matching on the pressure. Even Bury puts an appearance. Everybody's partying it up in this mid lane, but Mission is wise to it, playing a little smarter now.
Yes. Now we get maybe some time to talk about Hanabi, of course, getting this cannon, a historical pick for him. So he's not going to be too out of sorts.
He knows a lot of these top lane matchups, but even though it's strong in the laning phase too, I'm curious to see what Rest does. If Rest is just trying to play more for the team fights, as he typically has been stepping it up in laning phase. But right now, he's had a harder time cracking the nut that is Hanabi.
And on this cannon pick, if he gets ahead, it will throw CFO into a bit of fits, right? Because if you're using your shuffle to shove out the cannon, it will allow free access for then the Wukong to get into the fight. And also just the fact that you have to pay attention to Hanabi, right? If you throw the ult onto Bury and Hanabi is ahead, he just kind of one-shots your entire team. It's once more, it's 2v2 in this mid lane. We're going to see a lot of this as the series moves forward, because I think CFO, they've understood, hey, if they bring people, we also have to match that pressure. Mission has not looked the same when he gets caught out in lane.
Yeah, 6. Yeah, things are very different. That's going to be that heal forced out.
Gemini 6.
Bury puts an appearance once again. Gemini 6. Yeah, this is the difference, right? Is that just like game 1, Bury set a little behind the 8 ball. Can't quite do the same thing. Hanabi, level advantage himself. He lightning rushes forward, gets that stun. Instantly, Kaiwing reacts flash for flash. Ignites on, but he does withstand the pressure. So the shoe's on the other foot up top side. Rest is the one under fire. And yeah, this cannon will look pretty familiar to any of our viewers from MSI. I mean, that was the last time Hanabi played it up against the side of G2 Esports, and I believe T1 as well. Did manage to showcase his muscles on that champion. Kaiwing, caught up by Koala. He's able to battle dance to safety again. Just everybody's in this mid lane. It's party over here.
It's an absolute party. And that might not be CFO's comfort zone, because they've had they look to just dominate that bot lane more often than not, and now that it's more about the roam game, that might put CFO a little bit off kilter.
Starting off on this Herald
first,
first,
pretty
though.
bold position.
Yeah, he backs away now. That's going to be bringing Rest down as well. The wall does come up. It's cut off by the Herald. I think they've probably got the comfort for this. Hanabi could be setting up for the big play. Look at that as he's spotted in that brush. They're going to try and bait PSG
to move forward.
in. Gemini getting down with that smite, but here we go. They've locked up Hanabi as he tries to rush forward to get the big multi-man stun. They will take Shun out of the fight. As the dust looks to settle here, it's 1 kill in exchange for that Rift Herald, but it was secured by PSG.
And look at the entire time. Mission is just on that mid wave, and now Mission could just die once more as they are setting up for the pick. They have even Zeri hovering, who can join very, very quickly, and Gemini helping out and keeps his mid laner safe, but it's once more just sort of a knock on Mission. Being a little bit unwilling to move out of the mid lane. Yes, he's getting CS advantages. It's not quite there. And we just need him to be a little bit more active in helping out the team. You can see he's just zoned off at the bottom half of this map, so that's a lot of team fight power. You don't have that shuffle, and Shun, he's a Sivir. He can't deal with this flank pressure without the Azir.
And the Zeri gets not only a kill, but the farm advantage off the back of it too. So yeah, it's a different type of play, and you can tell that CF aren't quite as schooled in it, quite as comfortable. Another shove lands onto Mission, and well, he is just going to be backing away from that one. We'll have to see if they can do a little bit more with this. At the moment, PSG are the ones in the driver's seat.
And if this game does become really, really slow, it will get a little bit more difficult for Gemini to find these pick off plays as people will get more and more tanky, right? It's going to be harder for him to one-shot anyone getting into that backline. Now the chase is on for Gemini and Koala.
If they can get him out of this one, Gemini actually gets that
Kick in.
kickback, and he
Gory.
fancies his chances, but no, Burry's there, and they've got just enough. The second wind effort from Koala looks like it might have been ill-advised at first. Mission a little bit behind, so they do just lose Gemini, but that was close. Look at Gory's health bar.
And it's once again a fight that PSG take where Mission isn't able to join up effectively. So he gets zoned off. They're missing his damage once more. And PSG, they are constantly just cognizant of Mission's positioning and able to limit his effectiveness in this game number 3 so far.
Yeah, that has been one of the weak points of CFO throughout the series. Mission getting caught and getting zoned, the Azir given away, and you can see why. Ori is a little set behind in farm, but map advantages in favor of PSG all across the board. They've got themselves just shy of 1,000 gold advantage, and still haven't dropped that Rift Herald that was picked up in the chaotic play up by the pit, sitting in Unified's pocket, and we'll see if he just drops it for a quick charge.
Yeah, and the other thing here is Mission in games 1 and 2 has gone for the Ludens into the Shadow Flame. So a lot of burst potential on his ultimate and a lot of poke potential. And I'm interested to see if he continues that trend in this game, because it is a pretty squishy squad on the side of PSG. But if you're going to execute around just like a one-shot combo, I would love to see the early stopwatch, because you can get in with an aggressive shuffle, but then you also have the ability to stay alive because of the stasis. Whereas before, you want to go for a multi-man shuffle, but you don't have any ability to stay alive afterwards.
Yeah, the second wind is really important, right? So they send the Rift Herald, which was just sort of an opportunistic grab into mid, just get some plates, and try to bait a red buff play. Gemini's feeling it, but he's playing just beyond range of the brush, and they still try for the chase and instantly knock him up for days. But he flashes and tries to dash to safety. Burry says, not today, and bops him over the head.
That was a fantastic trap laid out by the side of PSG. And it comes off the back of, now you've got leads in this bottom lane. And for the side of CFO, once this Lee Sin starts falling behind this Wukong, it does get harder and harder to play the game, because Wukong will have the ability to outduel the Lee Sin, but also has a lot more effective and usefulness when it comes to playing out these team fights and Mission. I mean, he's just eating them up like Eggo waffle.
Yeah. And you know what happens when you eat too many Eggos? You get a little sick. Koala. He is taken solo, burning down from the Ignite, and he will limp away with single-digit health. Ooh, it's every summoner burned on the bottom lane. They didn't get him.
Oh my god.
Oh, that hurts, man. Here comes Mission with the slide glide. Does fail as he's forced to flash away from that seismic shove of Gory. Really look for the aggressive play. And here comes the rest of PSG. All right, well, couple of attempts. Nothing ventured, nothing gained.
And PSG, the adaptations have been massive, right? Because you have Shun on a Sivir. Yes, he can definitely carry. But the big thing here is it doesn't have the 1v1 potential, right? So now Kaiwing is able to leave the lane. When you look at this 3v3, the ability to play the map from Burry, Gory, Kaiwing, you have to give them massive advantages over Gemini, Mission, Koala. Right? Because Koala would love to stay in lane and just continue to ground pound the 2v2, but now he's forced a little bit off kilter, try and make plays with this Nautilus, and I mean, he's not bad on the Nautilus, it's just Mission's a statue in the mid lane.
Yeah, that's rough. Burry is able to chase Gemini off of trying to solo sneak the Herald by just looking at him. And PSG, you know, are starting to control the pace of the game. It's a slimmer gold lead, but they have a dragon advantage. They have the map control, and they can look for more here. Gory could be caught out. Ding's level 11 though, and is able to get out to safety. Rest is now joined in. Everybody once again starts to look for the mid lane. Mission Gory trading love taps, Sand Soldiers, but Mission does get caught, instantly bursted thanks to the combined efforts of Unified and Kaiwing. Meanwhile, PSG continue to work on this Herald as Rest tries to keep them under fire, but I think they get the last laugh there. They do, and they will take Herald number 2.
Once more, Mission misplays his hand. If Mission doesn't clean up his play, it's going to cost them this series. Because even though Gory did struggle in game 1, he didn't gift over massive advantage. He was just ineffective on the Talia. Here, Mission not only is ineffective, he's also making PSG stronger by giving them continuous kill gold or free pressure in this mid lane. They've constantly just gotten more and more out of these flashes or catches. And now Mission will go to a side lane, so maybe that helps create opposite side map pressure for his squad.
It has taken a while though, right? And I think Mission has definitely shown that some of his more stubborn tendencies have become a bit of a liability here. We'll have to see. He does he does have his Ludens complete. Of course, it's going to be matched by the Crown of the Shadow Queen on the opposite side. As we already know, the Talia stepped up big. And yeah, Infernal Dragon being live is a pretty big Drake. PSG, it looks like they're just going to use Herald as a distraction. Mission is very far forward here. Ooh, who's distracting who, actually? Herald gets the charge in, finishes the play. They'll bring the wave as well out from downtown, finding Koala as Shun is forced to leave his support for dead. And they keep on pushing. They might even get another Shelly charge out of this.
Yep. Should be another charge. And
they do.
should.
This time by Unified. That's going to be 2 towers for the price of 1. And they can still work on that Dragon Nightstar. Mission was barely able to take a tower while all that was happening.
At the very least,
one up top.
They do respond with 2 towers of their own. Yes, it's lower value, right, because it's tier 1 towers, but it's still gold at least being answered. And PSG now, they have 2 dragons to their name. Of course, this is the patch 12.14 where dragons did get buffed, so early dragons have a lot more value.
Especially that Infernal Dragon.
It's not only Inferno, it's also the Mountain, right? So they're doing a lot more damage, and they're harder to kill. And because you're going for the Ludens build against any sort of magic resistance that PSG builds, it just gets even better because you do have that extra durability from Mountain. And even then, remember, extra magic resistance added on because of the durability patch, that's free stats.
Well, you know what they say about elemental dragons, Nightstar. They protect, they attack, but most of all, they stack.
Absolutely. And
CFO,
the adaptation is
make moves.
going to be them building a lot of merc treads because it is double magic damage threat. So as the game progresses, the positioning of Bury and Unified does become more and more important because they need to carry a little bit more of the damage.
Uh-oh. Gemini, it's going to separate, trying to fight it out over the grub, but Gemini just gets the worst end of that one as he is going to leave Mission for dead, who was again out of position. Thought he was safe under tower, not the case.
Mission getting absolutely picked on. I know one of the memes in the Chinese community is, you know, if Mission's not 0-3 after the lane phase, then, or if he is 0-3 more after the lane phase, then CFO are going to win because he's just absorbing so much pressure. It's not really the case in this series. He's been very ineffective, and
it's just mistakes compounding, right? I mean, I think the map awareness, we talked about coordination on the PSG side, especially with, you know, the whatever lingers of the language barrier. Seems like CFO are the team that are playing a little disconnected. Game 1, they looked fantastic. Game 2, Mission just was in the wrong place at the wrong time, and we're seeing it again here in Game 3.
It's been quite problematic for the side of CFO, who started out the series so good, right? They came out and stomped PSG in game number 1. Just have not had the answers since. They've been able to, you know, win a couple of fights. Hasn't changed the outcome of the game necessarily. They need a big team fight win here because they're down 2 dragons. They're already missing those stats, and because it's Cloud Soul, even if they do get a couple of these under their belt, it doesn't help them win team fights.
Yeah, it is a little bit disconcerting to see this happening on the blue side as well. Typically, we see CFO kind of get a power-up from being on that side of the map, but maybe they baited themselves out with a couple of these picks here as PSG was hoping to bait them into another pick. Nonetheless, still the tempo, the gold, and the dragon advantage all in favor of PSG here. Rest being shoved by Gory, looks to push back on him with those boomerangs, but he doesn't have any help. Exhaust is on, it gets spent, and now PSG realize they can look for him, but maybe he's going to be the one baiting them in the Meganar as a lot of help still. Gemini mission at the back, and it's just TPs expended on both sides as PSG looks to turn it on yet again. Hanabi joining the fray. Oh. Gory, he's the one isolated this time, and Mission would love to pick him off. He does, but he will pay for it with his life.
1-for-1 in the mid lane exchange, and you gotta say that does favor CFO, as it will slow things down just a little bit more, stem the tide, stem the bleeding, as they...
And CFO doubled their kills.
Yeah, exactly. They've doubled up, and more importantly, Mission's on the board. 1 in 3 now has the completed Banshee's Veil, so there is a lot of magic resistance stacking coming in from CFO. So these fights will get a little bit more interesting as we progress, because we do need to see that Void Staff come out from Gory, as we do see a Void Staff complete on Hanabi, but no stasis on Hanabi. So that's also something to keep track of. While he's able to blow up the back line, he himself can also get blown up very easily.
Yeah, I think it's a very bold build, but so far it's been working out well for him. I think Furry's had a huge impact in this game, set up a lot early on. And keep in mind, Unified has just been stacking kill after kill. That Zeri definitely going to be much further ahead of the Sivir and also have a great late game impact. Yep. So the tables have definitely turned as far as the bot lane's concerned, and I just feel like the Sivir has not really had an opportunity to shine, and that's your best player, Shun. You need him to have a big impact. PSG now looking to set up for this Cloud Dragon. This would give them soul point. We'll see if they can do it. CFO aren't keen to give them the opportunity, but they have to keep an eye on the potential Hanabi flank. They do not want to get sucked into the slicing maelstrom. Oh, but now here comes Gory's wall. They cut off a few of these members here to kick into the side. Mission going to get that shove back, but the fight split on multiple fronts here. With Mission, he just barely gets out for the skin of his teeth, but PSG, they're split between a couple different members. You see Rest, Shun, everyone, they're opening fire, and it's open season on PSG Talon. Shutdown gold to Shun. Gory, still a threat, even with low health bars, as Kylie gets that knock-up onto Shun, using the spell shields to their utmost effectiveness, and they will be able to get the wipe and only lose Koala.
Oh my god, CFO have done it! They find the one big team fight when they were looking for, and this is huge for them. While the dragon isn't that impactful, the amount of gold that they got from that fight swings the gold from a PSG 2K gold advantage, and it flips sides. Now, as we get to see the replay, they know that they have to address this problem coming in from Hanabi, and while Furry does get a great engage onto the back line, Hanabi is a little bit too late, and by the time he gets there, they split off. And on the flip side, Gemini, Koala, able to buy so much time that it allows CFO kill, exchange front lines, and then start collapsing, recommitting to the fights. And when we talked about the identities of these compositions, yes, PSG have a good matchup because they can attack from multiple angles, but if they fail to execute on that point, CFO's front to back damage is just insane.
There was too many angles. They tried for Mission and they just couldn't quite finish him off, and so much was expended for the deletion effort. PSG were stretched thin. Unified was split up for the rest of the team, and that's when the turn came. Rest and Gemini just had a huge front line, and Shun getting shut down gold is massive. We were just talking about the Sivir needing to get an impact. Rest cleaning up some kills as well. It buys him a Randuin's pretty much flat out. And Yeah, CFO. It feels like the longer the fights go, the better it looks for CFO, whereas it's kind of the opposite for PSG. They want to get those quick picks. That Banshee's Veil, real goodbye there for Mission. Spell Shield coming in handy.
Yeah, it does. And yeah, for PSG, their execution at the start has to be really, really clean because that's where the teamwork is going to showcase through. Once things get hairy, that's where the individual skill shows through, and that's where CFO can look to start turning some of these fights.
Yeah. Now, they do have to watch on the CFO side that 3-item Zeri doesn't just blow them up. But they're starting to get back into it. The longer, more extended fight's going to be in their favor. They've got a pretty beefy front line between Gemini and Rest. And Koala, as long as Mission and Shun can stay alive, it does start to look a little better for them. The game plan is online. They have the 4-1. Rest is able to just duel it out with Hanabi, who, you know, hasn't really been able to have the big impact ever since that great play where he outlived, and still got the Maelstrom off over at the Herald Pit earlier on. Now things shift a bit, and maybe CFO find a way back into this game. It's been a very unorthodox series, I think, outside of Game 1 for this squad.
Yeah, and just look at how tanky CFO are. They have so much magic resistance already stacked up, but in addition, they have a locket. So that shield is going to absorb a lot of extra damage, and it gives you that extra magic resistance on top of it. So CFO, they are a very, very chunky meatball. And it will be tough sledding for PSG to chew through them straight up. But what have we said that they've been good at? It's been generating picks before the full-blown 5v5.
Yeah, they have to do it, though, and they're going to try right now. Here comes the slicing Maelstrom into the back. They look to split the rest of them up, and they do get a shutdown under Shun immediately. Koala's going to drop. This is PSG's comfort zone. Even though Mission shoves the back with the Emperor's Divide, they still have cleaned up 2 of the 5 members, looking for even more as Rest is forced to scoop and flash his way to safety. That's going to open up the Baron play. You better believe that looks like a 90-10 right now for PSG.
And for the side of CFO, they're going to have to pull out really big play of their own because Rest, he's trying to get that Gnar bar still on cooldown, of course. And maybe if they have the cooldown off, they can look to maybe go for the YOLO play. This is
about
going to be a stretch,
they
though.
might trade for it here. Let's see if they can peel them off. That
Elise in.
Sonic Wave's gonna go in. Gemini looks to sidestep. That Baron's kind of pulled off right now. And
this can happen.
Invading Rest is very low. He steals it away. Gemini managing to get himself the Baron. Mission takes Furry out, and just like that, CFO keep on the turn going. It's gonna be the knock, the root, the stun. Everything locks up the Talia, and Shun even gets the kill credit. Now that is a spicy meatball.
And this is why Gemini's leads in, even though it has petered out in the mid-game. This is why it's so dangerous, especially against a young jungler, especially someone inexperienced like Bury. It's such a tough smite fight. Why? It's because you have that extra execute damage coming in from the Q. On top of the smites, the bonus damage there is just too much for Bury to deal with. He loses the 50-50. CFO will also deny that third dragon for PSG, and things have become once more super, super tense. We could just go into another 40-minute game.
I think we very well could, although I'd be a little worried for PSG in that case. It's a great setup. They managed to get themselves into a perfect position. They take out Shun before he's hardly able to do damage. Mission stays alive critically, and then Rest blows every one of his tools to get away, and we're going to quick tab into the Baron play. But, man, we got to see this smite, because that is a bit of an EXP gap, and the fact that the Gnar bar completes for Rest just in time, it is beautiful with a deficit in numbers.
Q2.
Boom.
Q2 and smite, too much damage for them to deal with, and then the turn coming in from the Soul Laners. These extended fights where all of a sudden CFO can just size you up and just say, all right, how do we chomp you down? Yes, they do lose their jungler, but Gemini is, of course, very happy to exchange his life for.
He did his job.
Everything that they got.
So in the aftermath, it's another Cloud Dragon picked up by CFO, just cleaning up on the map. And now the Baron pushes on. They have about 50 seconds to work with it. Should be able to break this base. And even though the Weaver's Wall cuts them off, they're still fishing for opportunity, have that gold lead, and have the confidence, I think, to really just keep the siege going. They do get the knockback onto Hanabi. Keeping themselves split means that he can't find those gigantic cannon flanks. Looking for the big old Smeb ulti. Doesn't end up happening. And yeah, 31 minutes. I mean, we could be in for a long one, Nightstar, but then again, CFO find another fight. Maybe it's a short one after all.
CFO win this fight in the base. It will end the game. But for PSG, this is still a very strong Zeri, right? So there's still potential for Unify to pop off in one of these fights and carry the game. It does become a little bit harder, though, because the thing you can't do when you're stuck in your base is flank on the sides, and that is the key factor for this composition, especially since Hanabi still doesn't have a stopwatch of his own on that cannon. So if he goes in, he's hoping everyone dies.
He's got mission syndrome, apparently. So yeah, I think CFO, as long as they can keep at least one of their two big carries alive, it seems that they can turn a fight. And going from 0-2 to 3-3, Mission has really got himself back into this one. That Banshee's Veil has paid for itself time and again. And the Sivir's back on the board with items. Obviously, you'd rather be the Zeri in this situation. Nonetheless, team play, it's CFO that have found the way into this off the back of an incredible hero Baron play by Gemini in the ensuing fight that got them back on the board. Remember, we are 1-1 on the series. The winner of this one goes to match point. The stakes, incredibly high. You go into the upper bracket final, face off against Beyond Gaming for a shot at Worlds.
You have two chances.
Yeah, a second chance.
Pyra.
The loser, you go down to face J-Team, who are going to be itching to get back into it after taking a walloping from Beyond. And that's the elimination match. So what a stark difference between winning this series and losing it.
It's not like it gets easier by going into the lower bracket.
Exactly.
Right?
There's no MFTs or impunities to stomp anymore, right? Yeah. It's like, nope, you gotta go through the big boys.
Yeah, there are no freebies left in our bracket. And rest. This is a 4th item hull breaker.
Whoa, what a throwback.
And this is such a late purchase, but they are pretty committed to just setting up on the side, it feels, and it also means Hanabi can't ever take a 1v1. I will say, though, they are sort of running out of base to attack from the side of CFO, that it might not be the most worth buy. That being said, still solid stats. It's not a negative. All right, it might be a negative purchase, but you know,
it's a fun
I'm trying
purchase,
to justify it.
Rust he's trying really hard to have that side lane value. I mean, hey, Rust is having a great game. Let's not deny it. That laning phase, it was looking a little bit sus. We thought, okay, this is the chance for Hanabi to have a strong side play, but clearly Rest Yordle reigns supreme, and he's feeling confident in any sort of 1v1 shenanigans. He has been hitting the Gnar ults where it counted, and honestly, I think he's kind of out-Nard Hanabi this series. If you just look at the two games, CFO can easily clean up this dragon, put themselves at soul point. Yes, the Cloud is not the
it's not the killer blow.
It's not the killer blow. Nonetheless, I mean, you're real speedy after that. Keep that in mind. I mean, the stacks do really stack up, and if you're trying to chase people with a Sivir, you're gonna go vroom vroom.
And the big thing here is that it gives Shun ability to actually kite these fights with the additional move speed. When you are that immobile AD carry, you're gonna have to trust your footwork, and having faster feet can aid you in that regard.
So much MR too. The Mob Melmorty is completed for him as well. They really are just not going to allow the Kennen or the Talia to deal that much to them. Everybody looking at each other. This Baron fight could be a big one, but they do get a pull. It's not on Taburi, though. It's onto the clone. Rest whiffs on his ultimate. Unified able to get out to safety. Some big tools expended. But PSG don't fancy the fight. Again, we talked 90-10. This does not feel anywhere near that.
Yeah, not quite that 90-10 moment. Hanabi, I think he's really close to the death cap as well. Has 2 large rods, so looking for 1100 gold. Maybe that's the break point.
Could be. It's a
Just
big burst.
knowing how
he's
much
been able to
magic
delete
resistance.
Shun already.
Yeah.
Again,
it's
you
going to
need
be
to
a lot
delete.
harder though.
You need to delete Shun and/or Mission. Like that's kind of the goal, right? If you can do that,
Yes.
you win the fight following up. But CFO, they have the inside track on the Baron. Oh, Gory's actually getting caught here, and Rest is, despite getting shoved seismically, feeling himself in this one, has the Narbar completed, and he's going to be Mega for right now. And I think this might
much
prompt CFO to start this so fast as he plays Bodyguard, getting the stun off onto the Bury clone. And here comes the Weaver's Wall from Gory. That's the peel off on Baron, and it's just going to reset. But Gory takes a lot of damage as he gets far forward, forced to flash out of the dredge line range. CFO are playing with their food now. They know they've got the advantage.
Gory does have teleport though, so he'll go for the recall, and he can come back full HP. But Rest looking to stop that. That's actually huge. Gory.
Yeah, he does.
Now he can't join the team fight with a full.
He might even just die. Here we go. Rest. He's looking for
1v1.
that auto right now. Baron's gone already, and man, Rest for MVP. This guy is running full distraction.
Now we're seeing this game just teeters on which mid laner makes that first blunder, right? Because now, like, I hate to say it, that it comes down to which mid laner fumbles first, but that's how tight these fights are. And a lot of it is predicated on being able to eliminate the big carry when it comes to these team fights for either of these squads.
Sure. I think Unified is arguably bigger carry than Talia this game. Nonetheless, a flying start for Gory has been really snapped shut here as he just wasn't able to get a whole lot done outside that laning phase and has been held to a mere single kill. Mission gets back on the board outside of lane, and his positioning has gotten better. He still doesn't have a stopwatch, but you know what? That Banshee's Veil does more than enough in terms of defense, and he has gotten a lot better at playing closer to his team's stronger sides. Rest on the side lane is completely unstoppable.
He's a menace.
And there's nothing Hanabi can do about it. CFO are looking to push this in with the press.
Now here's the thing, now Rest is actually getting big value out of this Hullbreaker, right? Because he's constantly playing away from his team. He is a problem that cannot be addressed by the side of PSG. So they need to figure out an answer. Otherwise, they have double super minions streaming on in.
PSG going to try to attempt the miracle hold here. It's 38.5 minutes on the game clock. CFO would love to go to match point. They've already knocked PSG to the lower bracket in spring. Are they looking to do it again? One Nexus turret, half its health remaining. CFO do not present a target. Oh, first damage.
So much damage.
Yeah, they're going to be able to finish this one off, and it's just a slow roller to the end.
Open season.
Recall coming in from Mission.
Yeah, teleport come back in. This should just be the end. They have to go now.
It's just Winions. They have to make the play. That's going to be Bury putting the go button on, but it's just not enough to damage to split the focus. They just don't have it, and this is going to be it. CFO are able to finish the job, close it out into the Nexus, and we are going to game 4 with a CFO match point.
CFO are the first ones to get to match point, and it looked so doomed from the start. Mission just still playing really far forward. This time around, though, he doesn't get punished in the same way. They've made adjustments. They've pulled Kawhi constantly over, and this time it pays off, right? Because of the fact that if Mission doesn't fall too far behind, Rest they can start participating because the damage isn't quite there to burst them out because PSG isn't that far ahead. Now, for PSG, though, I don't hate what they attempted in the draft. They just weren't able to hit the power spikes or pull the trigger early enough, and this just might not be the kind of composition that they're comfortable with.
Right. I think that the Zeri needed to the Zeri was able to do a lot, but everybody else on the map was having trouble. I think this Kennen it didn't stay alive long enough outside some early fights. And you could argue that that was just a result of not going into the Zanya's build. But I also think Hanabi was basically held to like kind of a single job in that game, and he just wasn't able to do it after a while because Rest just completely outscaled him on the side lane in the hole breaker. In addition, Gory didn't get to pop off on the Taliyah this time around. He wasn't able to be nearly as much of a damage threat, and the itemization coming in from CFO just completely denied his impact. So it was pretty much unified or bust, and the Zeri can work wonders, but you need the rest of the team to be pumping out the damage as well, and they just did not allow it. So I really want to credit CFO for adapting well to what they've been seeing out of the PSG draft. I think this is a level of strategic growth that we weren't necessarily used to seeing from them over the course of not only this regular split, but even last split. So they're really growing right before our eyes, Nightstar.
And they've now tied up the series again.
Yes, they have. Overall, they're 2-1 in this series, but in the all-time head-to-head, I believe it stands at about 8 games apiece. So, who's going to come out ahead at the end of the day? I don't know, but again, CFO have already managed to knock PSG Talon down to lower bracket.
Could be a repeat.
They could do it again. It would be the exact same scoreline if they take the next game.
It would be, and for PSG, again, I didn't hate the draft. It was just maybe not their comfort zone because, again, they love their 90-10s rather than the 60-40s. They don't necessarily force plays, and that was a composition that you did need to force a little bit. A lot of wombo potential, but you lack damage towards the end of the game, having to rely on the Zeri, and because of how much magic resistance came through, they weren't able to find that mid-game impact to then start the snowball.
This was the attempt, too.
Yeah, this was a good attempt here from PSG to set up those flanks, but this is a spot where you really need someone to come in from the bottom of the map, coming in through that try, and and it didn't look like they were fully cognizant of that. And Bury, first time onto the Wukong this split, perhaps the coordination between him and Hanabi, not quite there.
Not quite yet. So good cleanup coming out of CFO. Also, some hero plays. Gemini on the Lee Sin played incredibly well off that steal. I think we're going to get to see it. This, I believe, this was the fight that set up the Baron, and then it flipped all around. Like instant burst. Hanabi's build paying off to take out the Sivir, but the Sivir's not the main threat. Mission is, and he lives.
Yeah, because they weren't able to kill Mission in this instance, it throws a wrench into their plan afterwards. But the thought process was there, right? We get 2 kills, we turn over for the Baron. This is just good play coming in from Gemini, right? He gets the steal, and it's sort of like all hell panic ensues for PSG because you've lost the Baron. Now all of a sudden you're trying to look for the fight, and then you realize you don't have a lot of resources left to you. You've burned all your cooldowns trying to finish off the Baron, and this is CFO's comfort zone, right?
Yeah.
It's when you highlight the individual play rather than the full team fight coordination.
Which is what you highlight from PSG's side. But in that particular instance, they didn't get cold feet, perhaps when they should have, on the Baron. As it was about 2000, they hesitated, trying to bait out the Lee Sin, and, well, Gemini was the one who held his nerve. So really a hero play coming through there. I think Rest just took it from there. Really good with the Gnar takeaway, and you can definitely tell the difference for Hanabi on some of these more comfort picks versus some of his more legacy picks. Which ones he certainly prefers, even throughout the nerfs on things like Gnar. Rest played spectacularly outside of lane. He would be my MVP, but I think everyone on CFO definitely did well outside of the early game to come back into that. We're going to take a look at how the game went down. It was a very long one yet again, 39 and almost a half minutes, but by the end, the snowball was rolled down the hill, and PSG, well, they got splattered by it.
And Mission, 30k damage, putting in
a lot
work.
of damage.
And you also compare it to the fact that Sivir was pretty much a non-factor. because of how much attention was thrown onto this champion. So I wouldn't say Shun performed poorly. It was just very difficult because of how many angles he did have to consider. But Mission...
He became an ult bot by the end, and that was okay.
Yeah. At the very least, you do still provide utility for the rest of your squad. But Mission was really the highlight when it came to putting out damage for his squad. This time he goes for early defensive item in the Banshees and pays massive dividends. But MVP has to be Rest. Definitely consideration for Gemini being able to get the Baron steal to throw things into motion. But Rest really ended the game with how he played in the side lane and not dying.
Yeah, that was a brilliant performance from him, just overall. In lane phase, it looked like it was going to be a bit scuffed. It looked like it could be a rough time and Hobby would run over him, but he held firm, and he was able to get back into the game just like the rest of his squad and had incredible use around the Gnar bar, then got into the side lanes, and it was off the races. There was no stopping him. I love the late hole breaker build because it just kind of drove the nail into the coffin. And, well, 2-1 up now. CFO, they could be looking to close this one out. We'll see if they can do it right after this.